we are doing close-ups. So notice that this is a close-up of a bird. I did not see the whole rest of his body. This is a small painting, so I can't fit everything in there anyways. So I'm gonna do a quick sketch. I know that his eye is pretty important, so I'm gonna draw the eye here. Looks like there is like an almond shaped around the eye. And it goes off the canvas. That's my first bird. And I think this part of his face is really cool. So I'm gonna start by drawing the eye and a dot. Got a shape around it. And this is where the green comes in. This is where the yellow is. Here's like those zebra type lines. And this is white and this is black. That looks confusing, right? It's a little hard to tell. I'm not gonna spend all my time drawing these little zebra lines because they're going to be layered. So I'm just gonna think about the blocks of color. So this is a block of color up here of the green and the blue. This is a block of color with the yellow. Here's gonna be white with some lines of black on top. And then this is the beak. Think about what part is bird and background. So I'm just gonna quickly go through and like maybe do an X just on my sketch, just to help me remember what's really gonna be background. And then remember, this did have this here, but this is gonna be a background, so I'm gonna leave that because I'm gonna put those skinny lines on top. Next step, I want you to take a block and we're going to transfer that image onto each one. The bird is going to be mostly green. So I'm gonna paint this whole thing green. I'm gonna write that, cream. Now to have some good contrast, I would like to use, maybe I'll use pink. So if you think about complementary colors, colors that are opposite of each other, it would be green and red. Pink is a variation of red because pink is white and red mixed together. So I'm gonna do a pink background. That's just the base. So we're thinking of the base color and the background right now. All right, I'm gonna keep this like as my map. When you get started painting, you always want to get your brushes wet. And in between colors, when you're switching colors, keep your paintbrush in the bucket so that the paint doesn't get stuck. We are using acrylic paint, which does not come out of your clothes very well. So hopefully you're wearing some kind of a smock or you're wearing some old clothes. Okay, let's get started. So I'm gonna start off with the flat brush. Now my brush is dripping in water, so I'm gonna dry my brush off. And I'm gonna do this one first, which I know the top is gonna be blue, the bottom is gonna be red. Now, if I paint those together at the same time, that is not gonna look good because the red and the blue are gonna mix together. And then we're gonna get a whole new color that we don't want. Whoops, I made a mistake. No big deal, just brush it. That's everything for blue. I'm gonna wash my brush off. I'm gonna move on to the next color. Dry my brush. before you move into the next color, and you have pink here and you have blue here, you need to make sure that those two colors are dry. So this would be a good time for a water break, bathroom break, come back. Once they're dry, then you can start to paint. To show you how to blend the colors. So this one is going to have a base of all yellow, so I'm going to first do all the yellow, pull the brush real crisp to get that nice edge, and I guess that's everything with yellow. So I'm going to wash my brush. When you're washing your brush, just kind of rub it against the bottom, back and forth, back and forth. You don't want to squish it. Dry it off on your paper towel. And then I'm going to take a teeny tiny dab. That's it, all I need of that orange. I'm gonna blend that orange in. So I'm gonna start here at the edge. And maybe I need a little bit more of that teeny tiny. I'm gonna do it again. It's always better to do a little less, and then you can go back and keep adding more. You don't wanna overdo it. The way that this works is that both colors that you're blending together have to be wet. It's called wet into wet is the name of the technique. And then I slowly, as the paint is running out, I'm bringing the brush further up, blending into that yellow, and you can see that nice gradation is what it is. Okay, this brush is way too fat. I'm gonna take a break, switch brushes, and I'm gonna move to the skinny one. I have a nice tip here. Use the tip of that brush, pull it towards you to get nice control. A little too much paint on there, a little too much water, and I just dabbed it off onto the paper towel. Be careful when you're picking up the paint from the paint bucket that you're not using your brush like a spoon. Do not scoop it up, just dip it into the paint. So I've done quite a bit of work here, showing some progress of layering. This one I haven't done a whole lot. This one is where we left off, and I have lots of the background complete, and then it's next to go into adding texture. These two I added texture. For this one, I just layered the paint kind of thick with this square brush and, just kind of dabbed it. And then I did the same thing with the green to create that texture. And I did that wet into wet. So with the mixing of the green and the blue was fine because I think they look good together. Same thing happened over here. I used green and blue and then a little bit of purple while it was wet and just kind of drag the brush to create these longer feathers. Then I used that skinny brush, the purple one, and pull that brush through here to create some of those lines, adding some texture. All right, so I'm gonna work on this one. I wanna show you how to make these really, really skinny lines. It is a challenge. So I'm gonna dip into the brush. Be careful when I get the paint that I don't have like a big glob on the end. If you do, you can just practice here and get rid of some of it. So you're gonna wanna pull the brush, and notice as I pull it, my hand is off of, could rest on here, but I feel like if I rest, I have a tendency to drop the brush. So I'm gonna do that over here. And I'm gonna let it just barely touch the canvas. So see how I get that super skinny line? If you look at the end of your brush, it's like 1 or 2 teeny tiny hairs. And that's what I'm allowing to touch. Do not drop my hand or let it touch. Don't drop your hand to let it touch the table. Otherwise you're gonna get a big fat line. Well, I think I'm done. I've completed all 6 of them. I think the gold really helps make everything stand out. I used the gold in all 4 of these, didn't really find a place for these. Added a little bit of a glimmer in the eyes, and I think they're good. Last step. So take out your board that you have in your bag of supplies and grab some pencils, or at least something close to that size, and all your paintings. Make sure they're all dry, and then a bottle of glue. You can use some Elmer's. I even have some tacky glue, and we're going to put these together. So I'm going to lay them all out on the board and decide which arrangement looks really good. So I like this arrangement because I have the pink, and the pink and orange here, which kind of ties things together, and then this balances out this orange with this one. And these 2 are the ones that didn't have any gold, so I wanted to separate them because initially they were like that, and then I thought that this was unbalanced. So decide which looks the best. Then we're gonna have a real fancy trick here. We're gonna take these pencils and put them in between to create spacers. Oops, I'm gonna put this one here. All right, and then what you can do is kind of squeeze them together, and the pencils keep that spacing really nice, because it's really hard to lay them out. If I didn't have pencils, I feel like the blocks would probably end up all kind of wonky and crooked. All right, so then once you have those in place, kind of look around the edges and see how much space do you have. Like this one, this side here has too much space, and then this is smaller. So then I'm just gonna scoot them down. And then I look at the sides here, and that looks pretty even. I'm also looking to see, you know, here would be what we don't want. If they're on here, this is all crazy crooked. So go ahead and switch them all back. Okay, now once you have them pretty much in line where you want, do your best not to move those pencils, and let's start gluing.